The subconscious mind is immoral. It is totally subjective. It is totally deductive. It has no originating capacity. It has no ability to think. It cannot change anything. It'll accept anything you give to it, and it accepts it exactly the same. The subconscious mind has no ability to change things. It's like the earth. It doesn't matter what you put in the earth, it'll grow. Now, this is important that we start to understand this. You see, the conscious mind has hooked up to it like senses, or like little antennae, sensory factors. And they're like antennae. And we can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Now that gets us in touch with our outside world. It helps us correspond and communicate with our material world. We were never meant to let the outside world control us. It should just tell us what's going on inside. But we haven't been taught that. We have been taught, look at the report card. That will tell you what kind of student you are. That is not true. What the report card tells you is where your mind was at for a few minutes, maybe 3 weeks ago. It has nothing to do with what you're like. Absolutely nothing. And yet the report card molds lives. It molds the mind of the teacher, the parent, and unfortunately, the student. I never did get a good report card. I used to get terrible report cards. I would not study. I was a terrible student. And you know, we often hear teachers saying dumb student. I think it's dumb teacher. It's a teacher's responsibility to get our attention and hold it. No, it is. It's the teacher's responsibility to get our attention and hold our attention and get us interested. The teacher is a salesperson. If we put all the teachers on commission, you'd find the standard of education go way up through the roof. We had somebody else writing the tests, somebody else marking the tests. And if a teacher had all A students, that teacher would get very high income. If the students failed, the teacher may get no income. Now, you're going to have to be quite a salesperson to sell that. That's not going to fly, but we do know it would work. Now, look at the conscious mind is not only got our senses hooked up, it's also our intellectual mind. And we have an intellect. And that's what separates us from all the rest of the animal kingdom. Now, I want you to think. Really listen, but think. Don't just hear this as words. All the other little creatures on the planet are completely at home in their environment. They blend in. We are totally disoriented in our environment. And that is because we've been given the godlike ability to create our own environment. Now, because we're not taught that, because we grow up not knowing that, we blame the environment for what we're like. It's what we're like that creates the environment. Almost all welfare recipients, the third, fourth, fifth generation welfare recipients. Think about this for a moment. We have the ability to change everything. There's an area in Toronto, it's called Regent Park. Now, because I've been running around this planet for a while, I can go back and I can see things over a long period of time. I remember when in that area of Toronto, it was in downtown Toronto, it was all ramshackle little houses. The houses were falling apart. Most of them were on little lots. Some of them had a pretty big piece of land. And the government got involved and they tore them all down. And they built apartment buildings. Yet they put the people back into the apartment buildings. And that would go back, that would be late 50s, early 60s. Do you know what they're doing now? They're tearing down the apartment buildings. People wrecked them. See, what they did is they took the people out of the slums. They didn't take the slums out of the people. Those people have a mentality that believes somebody should be looking after us. They have never been taught to use their higher faculties. Now here's your higher faculties. You know, you shift your perception. We're putting together a new goals program. You will hear about it. And Scott, who's in the back, Scott Edwards, Stand up, Scott. Turn the lights so they can see where you are. I want everybody to know this man. Turn these down. Turn them up. I can't see a thing back there. Turn these spots down. Okay. Turn the house lights up. Can you do that?
No, we can't.
You can't? Okay, well, I'll get Scott up later on. I want Scott to come and tell you the story of how he got here. Scott is from Manchester, in England. Scott's from Manchester in England. I'll get you to come up later, Scott, because I want him to share how this material works. He started to watch The Secret when he was 13 years old. He's 25. Everything he wanted has fallen into place. He runs the studio that we have. I built a studio where we can stream all over the world. Scott can come into that studio from Manchester in England. He can set the cameras up, he can drop the green screen, he can film me, he can edit what's being done, and he can stream it anywhere in the world from Manchester. But he could do it from anywhere. He could do it from Santa Monica. He could do it right here from this hotel. The place is really wired well. He runs the whole thing. Bright young guy, but there's an interesting story how he got here. In talking to him the other day, we were driving, he said, Bob, in the goals program, you've got to make perspective a very important part. I said, geez, I'm glad you mentioned that because I hadn't thought of it, and you're so right. It's our perspective. It's how we see things. Perception is such a big thing. It's a mental faculty. It's a mental faculty. It's a mental strength that we've got. We can look at everything and we can shift how we see it. Just bang, like that. It's a choice. And we can change how we see things. Most people never change. They just see it the way it is, and that's the way it stays.